Hi, Chris here. Thanks for stopping by my channel, All Time Jack. Today we're going to build this cool little knife. It's been part of two of my other videos, the Vevor grinder review and stand build, and the knife bevel jig video. And there's the grinder where this project originally started. I needed something to test this Vevor grinder out with, so I cut out a knife blank. There really was no intention of a completed knife at this point. Really more of a piece of metal that had a purpose in a couple of my other videos. But in the end, it turned out great, so this will be a start to finish video. Let's get started. I'm just holding down a template I cut out with some magnets, and then I'll trace it out. And then I'll take it over to my metal bandsaw and cut it out. Seems like using a bandsaw is a pretty good way to do this. Doesn't heat up too much. You can cut them out all kinds of different ways though. And since this is a 1/4 inch thick, we can do it without wearing a bandsaw blade out. Works pretty good and doesn't take too long either if you got a good bandsaw and good blade. Obviously, sometimes you'll have to get in there with something else for some smaller angles and stuff, but now we can get on over to the grinder and start with some 36 grit, and that 36 will take it down pretty quick. So I cut out this particular template for a specific reason. All of the attachments that came with this grinder will work for the radiuses that I need to grind on this knife, exactly. That contact wheel works great for the false edge. And the arc grinding attachments, and it came with two different sizes, they work out great for the finger release in the handle. Looking good. Now I'm gonna put an 80 grit on there, go from 36 to 80, and kind of just go in a reverse order back through the attachments. So all looking pretty good. Put the platen back on, re-square it real quick, make sure it's good and square. Finish off the 80. And then we'll bump up to 120. Run through the same process. And then just for fun, let's see what a surface conditioning belt does. This is like a Scotch-Brite. This is the medium. And it leaves a pretty good finish. So remember, this knife was in two previous videos. It was somewhere around this point where I realized if everything worked out, I could make a whole knife build video. So I better heat treat it. So I'm normalizing it right now, about 400 degrees Fahrenheit over non-magnetic. Look up a color chart if you don't have a way to measure the high temps. That's what I'm doing. I'm just marking some holes here to cut out for weight and epoxy. On the normalizing, I think this is 1080, 1084, and so that's the chart that I'm using. Be sure and let it cool down without any induced cooling. Now I'm gonna lube it up, line it up this way, line it up that way, and drill a bunch of holes. Want to get all the holes done before I quench harden it, including the pinholes for the bolsters and the handle. Now, I don't make knives for a living every day. I'm not an expert knife maker or metallurgist, but everything I've done here worked out really well, including some of the stuff I had to do in kind of a reversed order. More on that in a minute. So here I'm just marking and cutting out the brass for the front bolsters. So at this point, there's like a real process at knife making, and everybody's got a different way of doing it, and it can get pretty complicated if you don't stay on top of it. What I'm doing here is drilling the smaller holes for the front bolsters. Those are 1/8. Like other things, it really doesn't look that complicated, but if you get something just a little bit off, it could ruin your whole project. So here we go. I'm drilling one hole in one side of the front bolster, and then I'll put one pin in it, line it up on the knife, transfer punch it, go drill the other hole. I would suggest playing around with your drill bits and reams, tapered reams, and just find what works best for you. Now the same thing for the opposite side of the front bolster. Now we can put the pins in without feeding them and just sand it into shape. And that doesn't really take too long. Be real careful. Don't overgrind anything or grind anything you don't want to grind. And now I'm just going to kind of hand shape it with a file, get it just how I like it. I'm kind of just playing around too, see what works, see what doesn't work. Had a little stubborn spot there, and that got it pretty good, and I thought, why not, I'll try this sander too, and that worked real good too. This side has a little round edge to it, so I've used the Nicholson chainsaw file, and that worked out pretty good. Here I cut out the rear bolsters, and I'll do the same process as the front bolsters for drilling them. And then this is just a piece of wood I put on there to trace out the end of the knife, so I could trace it onto the brass and sand it down a little bit. On the other side, after I drilled them, I put them on, I had these flat discs I want to try out, and that worked out really good. It was real fast and real smooth. I was pretty happy with that. Looking good. Now let's get serious and get it back on the grinder. Quit playing around. And at this point, I want to get everything really, really close to its final shape because it's about time to quench harden it. And earlier when I mentioned doing stuff in reverse order or out of sequence, this is primarily what I was talking about, the hardening here. I have already ground the bevel on it because in the bevel jig video that I made, I still wasn't sure I was going to make a whole knife out of this or not, and I just ground it. So we're going to see if it chips or cracks or anything, and obviously if you're seeing this, it didn't. And I did do it twice. The first time I hardened it, it hardened, but I thought it should get a little harder. And I did it again, and I really paid attention to the color, quenched it again, and that sucker got hard. That's about 200 degrees over non-magnetic, and immediately quenched in oil that's been heated up to 125 degrees. And I did that just by putting another piece of steel in the forge and then putting it in the oil until it heated up. And now we're going to go ahead and temper it. And I did this 2 times, 410 degrees for 2 hours. I did not anneal it, so it was normalized, quenched, and then tempered. And if you're wondering how we got that sweet bevel grind on there, here it is. I built this little bevel grinder, and I have a video of it, and I'll put it in the description. It'll probably pop up at the end of the video as well. A lot of guys just hand grind these. I'm just not that talented. This little bevel jig works great, and maybe I'll work my way up to hand grinding someday. I overground it quite a bit for the purpose of the bevel jig video, and how I brought it back was when I flattened it, and I just flattened it on my belt sander. So I decided that since it's all working out pretty good, I'm going to go for a mirror finish. And so I'm going to hand sand it up to 1600 from 120. I have everything in between, so I'm just going to do it that way. I don't think you got to go up that far, but why not? Now we're going to get on the buffing wheels from Maverick Abrasive. We're going to start with the red with the black rouge. And if you're going for a mirror finish, take your time and look at that blade 1,000 different ways, under 1,000 different lights, and then do it again, and then maybe again, because you just look at it wrong and another scratch pops up. And now we move over to pink with the green rouge, and you could stop here. You'll get a mirror finish out of this. But we're gonna go on to the last wheel after this, the white one with the purple rouge, and get that extra special look. Here we go now. Put a little of the purple rouge on there, and let me tell you, if you were buffing an ice cube, this wheel will grab it and take it from you, so be real careful. And you can look at it right there already and see how shiny it's getting. Please subscribe and slap that like button if you're into this sort of thing. And if you're going for a mirror finish, or any finish for that matter, make absolutely sure you sand your scratch lines out from the previous grit all the way. Look at it a million different ways. And look at that. That is beautiful. That is a mirror finish. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm obviously extremely pleased with that. That's going to look wonderful. Now I got my bevel grinding jig up at 20 degrees, and I'm just going to put a 400 grit knife edge on it. I don't know what I'm going to do with this knife yet, but it's not really a knife if it doesn't have a cutting edge on it. So I'm just going to put a cutting edge on it, and it ain't chef sharp, but I mean, it'd cut your finger off. And when I figure out what I'm going to do with it, I'll put a fine edge on it. So here's the front and rear bolsters. I'm going to go ahead and put the rear bolsters on. And I'm going to clip them a little bit where I got just about an 1/8 inch sticking out of both sides. Maybe a little bit more than that. Not much though. And I found that just using a small ball peen hammer and peening them down until you get them just about where you want them, and then grabbing a little bit heavier hammer and finish them off works pretty good. Sand them down real quick and you'll notice we got a pretty good looking bolster. You may also have noticed that I forgot to put epoxy on. So I decided not to use epoxy on the bolsters, but I'll still use it on the handle. It'll be just fine. And man, oh man, look at that. This turned out to be really nice. So we got to get the top part of that front bolster all shined up and ready, because once we put it on the knife, we won't be able to get to it to do this. And they're looking pretty sweet too. And now I'm just going back over one more time, making sure everything's the final shape that I want it to be. Everything's looking pretty good. There's the front ones again. Let's polish them rear ones up. And this don't take long at all. These things are bright and shiny. Looking good. Let's get the front bolsters on. Now, I know all this going back and forth seems repetitive, but it's like I said earlier, there's a real process to it at this point. Same painting process. Use a smaller hammer, get them where you want them, and then finish them off with a little bit bigger hammer. Looking pretty good. Let's sand them down a little bit and get them looking like them rear bolsters. Hit them real quick with the red and black. Hit them real quick with the pink and green. Now they're all looking sweet, and it's time to make a handle. Gonna have to get this piece of wood flat first. We'll run it through the joiner a couple of times. We'll sound a little better there. Ooh, almost. There we go, that one sounded good. Looks good. Smells good too. So this is a beautiful piece of crotch figured walnut. And of course I picked the prettiest section of it. And then of course I screwed it up. So I had to pick the second prettiest piece of crotch figured walnut. Cut it down to size and split it. And here I just used a hot glue gun. Filled up the center there. Popped it off. Trimmed it. And traced it out. It worked really well. And all I really need is this radius part. Cut that out and get it just right, match it to the bolster, then I can just sand the other side down until it fits in there snug. So we go over to the old Delta 14, cut it out, and then go over to the little shaper and get that little radius just perfect. Careful here, this is where I screwed that real pretty piece up, but this piece is real pretty too, and it'll work just fine. Just gonna creep up on it till it fits in there perfectly snug. 2 holes for the pins that I should have done earlier, 1/4 inch, and then chamfer or counterbore all the extra holes. And then of course a couple of holes in the walnut. Now I can stick the pins in it, trace it out, take it back over to the Delta 14, cut it out pretty easy, and now we're getting pretty close to having a knife. Now back over the grinder to grind it down. I know there's a lot of repetitiveness here, a lot of back and forth to building a knife. But it's a lot of fun too, and it's pretty neat to be able to produce something like this on your own. Trying to be really extra careful here so we don't touch them bolsters. And then I'll just sand them down by hand one last time. Remove the pins. Then I'll pull it all apart. Clean it with some acetone. Mix up some epoxy. Get a fair amount of epoxy in there. Put everything back together, put the pins in. Get them protruding out of one side just the right amount. Clamp it up for a little while. And then cut the long side off. And even though these are 1/4 inch, I'm going to pin them the exact same way. It takes a little bit longer because they're bigger pins. But I'm going to do the same thing as before. Little hammer, big hammer, and it works out great. Sand that brass down, looking pretty sweet. About time to put some finish on there. Now I'm just going to use some Danish oil. I think it'll look pretty good. And it does. Man, look at that. Sweet. Danish oil can be kind of funny, so you really want to make sure you cover it good and go back and go over any indifferent spots. But man, if you get it right, it looks really, really good. On my next one, I'll probably do some other stuff like serrations or a fuller, maker's mark. I wanted to keep it pretty simple until I get a little more seat time making knives, and I already added a second bolster and a mirror finish, and I figured that'd be just about enough for this knife. And I couldn't be happier with the final product here. It's really neat to be able to do something like this on your own. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.